As we're in the middle of the month of love in February 2020, Aphrodite is stirring. Aphrodite is goddess of love and sensuality, and she has inspired many poets and artists, and she's an alchemical goddess, and she adores seeing change in people. She loves to work with people and help them make changes for the better in their life. She gets as much out of it as the recipient. Aphrodite women know how to delegate tasks so they can attend to their self-care, self-love, and celebration. I am celebrating Aphrodite today. She's my patron goddess. She helped me get out of setting boundaries, practicing self-care and self-love, and now leading retreats for women. So today for this Facebook Live, I'm going to be leading you through a heart-centered meditation. I'm going to help you get clear on what self-care and self-love looks like through the eyes of Aphrodite. And also we're going to be doing some journaling, and you can manifest some goals and intentions on how to implement these changes in your life so that you're able to ignite your inner Aphrodite and enjoy a more joyful, fulfilling, passionate life. Even if you just take one tiny step, you're able to do that. The first step in connecting and awakening your inner Aphrodite is self-care. And obviously self-care is something that is learned. It's not something that is necessarily innate in some of us. It's purposeful, it's continuous, and it really is the maintenance of your health and well-being. And my favorite reminders of self-care are to trust your instincts. If it doesn't feel right when you're making decisions, don't do it. Don't be a people pleaser. If you're putting yourself last, you know you're not practicing self-care. And it's also having the courage to say no. And don't be afraid to say yes either. Letting go of things you can't control, and staying away from negativity and drama. We all know we've been in those situations where our energy is being sucked in a situation that is not serving us. So if you take your pen and paper out, how would you define your own self-care on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, in that are you sometimes a people pleaser, or are you always a people pleaser? Is it hard for you to say no to things that don't necessarily serve you? So if you just write down where you think your self-care is on a scale of 1 to 10. And if it is pretty low on the scale, what is holding you back from taking time for self-care? Has it been afraid that you'll lose friends, or you feel like you're just not ready yet, or you don't have the tools? You just write those things down. And then what would your life look like if you were to practice better self-care? Can you imagine what that would look like if you were able to stop being a people pleaser and say exactly what you mean? You write that down. Let's jot some things down. And then moving on to self-love. I love this quote by Margot Anand. Loving yourself does not mean being self-absorbed. It means welcoming yourself as the most honored guest in your own heart. And I used to define self-love by being selfish and self-absorbed. I didn't have role models growing up, something that I had to learn, because not putting yourself first and practicing self-love and self-care only ends up in you feeling resentful and tired and exhausted. So once you claim that you're worthy and release the martyr syndrome, and doing, acting out of self-love when situations arise, enables you to love yourself better. Valentine's Day is tomorrow. It's a day of celebration of love. Usually people will celebrate others and forget their own self. But in order to truly love others around you, you have to first love yourself. So write this down. How do you define self-love? What does that look like to you? What's the first thing you think of when you hear the word self-love? And then my next step to awakening your Aphrodite is seeing beauty even when it doesn't exist. And from experience, if you're rushing around in your day, barely having time to breathe, you cut yourself off from sensuality. And sensuality, seeing beauty around you, tasting beauty in foods, being mindful, and especially seeing beauty when it doesn't exist. Think about that for a minute. And having gratitude. An Aphrodite woman will notice this subtle light in a room during the day, in the afternoon light, in the morning. Aphrodite women will immerse themselves in stillness, seeing beauty in nature, making time for relationships. This is all part of seeing beauty. And remembering that rushing cuts off your sensuality and seeing beauty. So what moves you? What beauty moves you? Write that down. Is it through dance? Is it through music? Is it through the relationships you have with your family, with your children, with your partner, with your friends? And what ways could you bring in more of that beauty into your life? Maybe it's scheduling joy, scheduling time to be still through meditation, or through a class, through a drum workshop or a dance class, or an art class. What is it? And the next point, sensuality. Treating your body as a temple, and to embrace your feminine curves, and to stop the body shame. Making bathing time a ritual. One of the myths of Aphrodite was that she would bathe in the sacred waters in Pathos, in Cyprus, and she would renew her virginity every time she bathed in the waters. So if you think about that when you're bathing, you're washing off negativity and renewing yourself every time you bathe. So make it a ritual. And designing a sensual evening for yourself. It doesn't have to be with your partner. Do it for yourself. Cook yourself a delicious meal and enjoy and savor each and every bite. So what are some ways that you could bring in more sensuality in your life? And then the last is celebration, is rewarding yourself and celebrating even the smallest wins. It's so easy to move on to the next win if you have achieved something, and not to stop and savor it, and to reward yourself with something like taking a walk in nature, dancing, whatever that looks like to you, a reward. Calling a girlfriend and having coffee. Celebrating your wins. What could you do to incorporate more of the Aphrodite essence in your life? Just write down what comes to you. This is impromptu writing, not to be edited. It's whatever is bubbling up in the surface right now. Okay, so as promised, I'd like to take you through a guided meditation. So if you sit up tall with your back straight, shoulders down, creating some length in your spine, and let your chin just drop slightly towards your heart, and it'll release any tension in the back of your neck. And when you're ready, just gently close your eyes and start to focus in on your breath, sending some love to lengthening your breath, breathing in through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And so we can be fully present. I'm going to release the list of things that you had to let go of in order to be present today. And we're going to breathe in and exhale out through the mouth together as a collective. So let's all breathe in together now and exhale. And releasing the list of things we have to do later, today or tomorrow, at the weekend. Take a deep breath in together and release through the mouth. Breathe in and exhale. And if some of these things that I've discussed today bring up emotions for you, knowing that you will be guided to make changes when you're ready. Know that Aphrodite lives within us all. It's our birthright to feel love, and treat our bodies as temples. And to enjoy fully sensuality and to embrace all the senses. Knowing that you will be guided in the right timing when it is right for you. And take a deep breath in and exhale together. And exhale. Putting your left hand on your heart. Where true love resides. our altar of love. And you light a candle, knowing that you can always come back to this sacred space whenever you need it. Taking one last deep breath together. And exhale. And celebrating yourself for being present here today. During this month of love, giving yourself love first before you tend to your loved ones and friendships. Whatever that looks like for you. And when you're ready, and just release your hand, wiggle your fingers and toes over your shoulders, and slowly open your eyes. Welcome back to the room. I want to thank you for joining me today, taking the time out of your busy schedule. And if you have any questions about the Awaken Your Inner Aphrodite, the journey to find your joy, purpose, and passion, my retreat coming up May 29th through the 31st, you can head over to the website, transformationalgoddessretreats.com, or send me a message. I'd love to answer your questions. And don't forget to love yourself first.